What's up, everybody? My name is Flashstep from Blight Gaming, and I'm actually doing an analysis video for a T-side Optic on Overpass. They actually kind of crush EnvyUs here, so I decided to watch this demo and just kind of like take it round by round, showing people like what they did right, why they had so much success, and just kind of like break it down. So I'm gonna resume here. Let's start it up. You'll see throughout the demo on their. I'm just gonna go over there just their T side because CT's pretty fast 4-0 or something along that line. But Optic does a really good job of like throwing strats in there along with slow works. It's just a really good combination of like all the strats in the playbook to really keep EnvyUs on their toes, along with like winning their clutches and landing their shots. But I'll start off pistol here. Standard buy though, everyone armored up. Now, I like to see this though, like there's no decoys. Like that $50 might make or break sometimes when you can buy a gun or not, so I like to see no one buying decoys, because they're kind of useless anyway. But let's see the setup they have here. So they're actually going to a 2-3. With NAF corner like watching the A push, because a lot of the time, CTs will run up here kind of like they did, but then they'll come and peek middle. But it looks like they did, and they decided they just wanted to like have 3 towards A and then 1 floating between. And then they're going to dedicate what looks like to a 2-2 hit towards B here. Oh wow, they didn't get punished at all. Most of the time you either get punished or they get the frag. It's impressive to see that 5 players live there. And it looks like they really got the rotate happening here now. All the CGs went towards B, but since they're not really dedicating towards B, they kind of have to fly one back because they didn't see the bomb either, because the bomb's all the way back here. So really, what happened there was they had an initial idea of like wanting to go to B, but they kind of got flash pushed off of that idea, and they're still 5 alive, and they're going to snap go towards A because they're kind of running out of time here. And they know that they have people over rotate towards B, so there's just the snap decision to go towards A side and try to get a plant here, taking the site with Glocks while they're rotating over. Trades happen. Looks like Optic's up by 1 though, which is always good in the pistol, especially when you're already on the site with Glocks. That's a wrap. So Optic does a really good job there. I'm gonna pause it and talk about that because that round's really interesting. Optic does a really good job there of like staying composed, even though they kind of had like they eventually had like what I said, like the 2-3, but really it kind of like after a couple seconds it turned into a 1-2-2 with them having like water control, and then having outside B kind of monster working up to like try to work a pick and something. But CT's actually had like a majority towards there. It was like more like a 2-1-2 with like the float working towards heaven, who threw the flashbang and popped the monster. Really interesting to see that like Optic kind of regrouped after no one got a frag and no one got punished, and they just snap go towards A fast. And in that's like one of the things. Let me resume. That's gonna happen a lot of the time with like good teams. At least will like have good reads about when CTs are kind of over rotating around, or like they're like rotating throughout the map. Like grouping up and hitting one spot altogether is like really strong because they're not holding their one-shot USP angles anymore, and so the Glocks can like really maneuver into the site. So Optic did a good job of like mid-game calling that one. And right now, like eco mentality is like send SMGs to control certain areas, or wait pushes and take it slow. And it looks like Optic elects to wait pushes over towards A and long B. Like NAF right here is just basically gonna look down monster for anyone pushing, and then the other like 2 to 3 players are gonna be holding for connector and holding for middle to peak along with A coming out. So they kind of have eyes on everything, just to make sure that if the CTs decide to actually push up anywhere and like take a fight, that they're ready for it. So they'll wait this for about 30 seconds or so until they're feeling comfortable and starting to work on up. So this is the type of ecos that I like to see personally, because you're not really like taking a risk unless you have like a really hard read on something. This is always strong because most of the time your AKs are gonna win the fight as long as you have you have a good shot, you know. But it's scary though, because EnvyUs has a lot of deagles. But it's kind of weird because you saw EnvyUs kind of like do this 3-2 passive setup with Deagles. Like, they're not really taking the fights. Like, this is a fight that can be taken down at long for CTs. They can take that mid shot. They can take that connector shot with the Deagles trying to like push it. It looks like they're going to end up over at B here. And again, Optic is doing a really good job of, I mean, it's only 2 rounds in, right? But even you saw it there, like, they wait their pushes, they group, and then they dedicate to a certain site. It's kind of a big deal. Like, a lot of teams, even at pro level, don't really fully group up all 5. Maybe they'll do like a 3-2, or like maybe a 4-1. They'll sometimes lose a gun because of it. I feel like I've watched Optic recently in the last couple months of matches, and they have such a strong, I guess you call it mentality or like discipline for when it comes to grouping up, which I love to see. And here's kind of like, so here Mixwell has the SMG probably, so it's like a standard 4-1, like 4 going out towards monster and 1 going towards water control, just running it over. I like to see that. This is kind of like a combination of the grouping up together and taking a certain area really fast, which I guess is going to be like monster here in this situation, with 1 SMG running up short. Worked out well for them. But a lot of the time teams will call like 1 SMG going towards an area, let's say for example like over towards connector or over towards bathrooms or something by himself to try to scope it out and get a frag, but sometimes you run into stacks. So it's nice to see, it's refreshing to see like all the rifles running towards one spot and just trying to get the trade instead of like letting the SMG just kind of scout it out by himself, allowing for trade options. And then first gun here. Actually, what happened here was it was a 1-3-1. One person went and supported the other 3 players to kind of get towards water control here, with Maxwell going up connector and utilizing that smoke so he can come through the door, with 2 going towards the short to water, and 1 person over here flashing over. And then they kind of fallen off into like this 2-3 like little hold as we have the other 2 players work up towards bathroom, or at least put a presence today. It's not a standard default. It's like a strat that you would call normally. Like, let's get water controlled and work into something. So Optic Gaming is deciding that they don't want to work like a default per se on the very first round. I highly doubt they take water control every single round, but it is a strong play because a lot of the times CTs do want to call the let's take water control on like a lot of their rounds just because it's a strong play for CTs to hold. But if Optic wants to show dominance there in the first round, you probably won't see that many CT plays happening towards water because they have that presence there. Mixwell killed himself. Oh no, my guns and kills are just off. There's no way he dies from jumping, you know. I don't know why my top right's all. So what happened there was, let's see, 2v3, 2v2, 2v1. Jerry can get the bomb down though, and this is, I don't know what Happy's thinking here. They have a 7-player. This is just poor play by EnvyUs. Tarek shouldn't be able to have that fight yet until Kenny S is like ready. That's just unfortunate. But what happened there was you saw the default of the 1-3, or not default, you saw the water taken to the 1-3-1 that resulted in them going to a 3-2. And then the 2 players kind of worked up towards bathrooms here to get control and whatnot. But then they got punished by CTs over on the flank bathroom and like towards Sands. So they made the snap decision to run back to B. And that's kind of like always your play. If you're down in numbers and you have a read on like where there are at least 2 or 3 players, you want to just like force a site. So since they were kind of geared towards B, they all ran towards there because that's your only option at that point. You can't work a 3v. You can't work 3v5. You can't like just like expect a pro team to just like not give you the right trades in a 5v3. So you kind of have to take a chance and just like snap them somewhere, which they're rewarded because Tarek clutched it. Looking pretty standard here, actually. Like, actually, you know what? Having Stanislav by himself going towards long, I know that they know they're on a save, but there it is. Like, Kenny S drops him. That's a fight you don't need to take by yourself. Like, you're obviously trying to play distance, but, like, you don't need to control long. There's no point in controlling long, really, in the eco situation. You can kind of take it over together later. This resulted in a 4v3. As long as they don't lose another couple guns here, this is still a strong round. They left to go back to long and towards A. I guess they're comfortable with like EnvyUs or whoever that was picking up that one frag, and they're expecting him to fall back. Then someone else helped him out. And kind of just like push the pressure onto the site. They lost a couple guns that they probably didn't want to lose there, but it wasn't a terrible round. If they had lost Rush and Nap, then you're in trouble. But this is kind of like that round. Pause here. It's a good example of how you saw their first anti-eco, where they were like really disciplined about like holding pushes throughout, like the push here, the push middle, and the push connector, with having like 2 here, 1 here, and like 1 outside B. I don't know where the other guy was. But that round, you kind of saw them be a little bit more loose, with like Stanislav coming this way, 1 person connector by himself, like a couple towards the water, wherever it was, and they kind of got punished for it. And anti-ecos in general are kind of one of the hardest rounds in Counter-Strike. Well, not hardest, the most unpredictable rounds in Counter-Strike right now. So when you start playing, when you give them any room to like breathe or any room to kind of punish you with a pistol, they're gonna take it. So it's much better to just like play that disciplined style that you know that they can do. Like Optic is really good at being disciplined and grouping up later, and they did group up and go somewhere. Like, I'm not saying that they don't. It's just they don't need to have those 2 other deaths, I don't think. Or at least don't have those 2 other deaths without having an initial reaction somewhere. Like, they still have a pretty solid reaction, but it could have been punished by other players. Like, for example, let's say EnvyUs does push up to the bathrooms, or pushes up towards long, and then like he gets 1 more because there was no trade at the beginning. Something of that nature. So if anybody who's like watching this trying to like figure out how they want to do their ecos, just don't play loose. Like, have an idea of what you're doing. If you want to control spots with SMGs fast, go for it. Like, have 1 or 2 of your players control an area. Like a good example is ecos towards like cobble B side. You have like your MAC-10, your SMG like fly down drop and get intel the second he contacts E-box or contacts anybody towards like rock or whatever. The other 4 guys can run out long B. Similar things of that nature is just like a 4-1 going fast controlling, or you want to spread around across the map and then like hold passive pushes, getting a frag or 2, because most times it's either going to be CTs that are on a save on second round or an eco round. They're either doing a stack in a bomb site, or they're going to be pushing like somewhere heavy altogether. And as long as you're posted in the position for it, like most time the AK wins. Obviously you have that one in like every 7 rounds or so where like the pistols just go off and it's like they're hard to hit because of the mobility of them. I like this though. So Optic, this is like what I like to see Optic doing a lot of the time, is they will have their passive setups, they will have their defaults, they'll have their control of like water, the control of like bathrooms, whatever it is, but they'll also throw in like these rush strats that they seem to be really good at. Like, if there was one team right now that like consistently like wins their rush strats, I think it would be Optic. They just seem to flow really well. This is a good example of it too. Like on a full buy versus another full buy, they kind of have this very simplistic strat of we're gonna run 5 towards the monster. I'm assuming one person's holding a smoke grenade for the molly that's gonna pop towards here, and then they have one other player outside of like that was holding back a little bit, ready to throw a flashbang into the B site to pop. And then it kind of blinded everybody. It might blind your teammates as well, but if CTs are playing a standard setup, having 2 of the, or even 1 out of 2 of those players blind in the B site, with maybe 1 or 2 of your players being blind, the other 3 not being blind, it's still a better situation for your team. I hear so many people complain about getting flashed by their teammates in situations where you're taking on sites and whatnot, but like, if you're blind, they're blind. If you're about to have a one-way fight with somebody, like, they're going to be blind as well. So it's just like, in a situation where you're a terrorist, you spreading out onto the map and dispersing is always stronger. So don't be afraid to flash your teammates on like aggressive takes like that. Now, if someone's pop flashing when you're trying to like slow work into angles, I mean, in situations, or like controlling the map, then that's an issue. So it looks like this looks like to be their standard setup, is like this 1-3-1, or technically it's like a 3-1-1, right? Like 3-1. I bet Mixwell has an op there, and Nap is holding the B push. Let's see if Mixwell is opping. Probably is. He's not. He has an AK actually. But I don't know if that's just because they had that fast trap beforehand. But if they want to put this guy like deep in towards connector, most of the time he has an op by himself. Like a rifle's fine too. Like you can still hold with the rifle, but it's easier to get traded on. But the main idea is like Naf plays really far back, which I kind of like. I really like this, and this is one of the things that I think a lot of teams don't do as well. Is wanting to fight or like hold from this area on the long B, but like really if there's ever going to be a time where you're going to die here, it's going to be from a pop flash that's set up by CTs anyway. So like why not just give it to them? They might have false information and they might push through, or like I really just like the idea of like having someone really passive at that spot. And this is probably going to like either an A fake or an A hit heavy. It's really going to come down to where's the CT player at. That's going to either make or break this round with Apex. Yeah, he gets those 2 kills when they're trying to probably throw that fake, and now he knows instantly. I wouldn't be surprised if they just left the end. Yeah. So again, snap reaction. Pause. So what happened there was you had that default work where like they held the pushes for long, they held pushes for middle. They had one like towards connector, making sure that they didn't push up into it, and you had Naf all the way back here, like waiting for the monster push. And then the connector guy met up with one of the guys' Sands to like throw this A fake, or it might have been an A execute if they actually got a frag going in. But Apex flanking right here, killing 2, results in all the T's having to make that snap reaction to like run to B, which is the right play. They're kind of forced into a scenario like that because Apex gets all the intel right here, and unless the other like 3 players have gone to long A without using any utility or are going to come in, the CTs can safely just like over rotate to B, which is kind of what happened. And that's not going to happen in Counter-Strike whenever a situation is when you get flanked and you get 2 or you get the intel. People would rather good teams would rather just like take the fight 4v4 or 4v3 over at B and then rotate back over to A if they actually did fake them out there. But there's just so much information beforehand to make like a pretty good guess on where they're going to be going, and that's why these teams are where they're at. Mid-round critical thinking and whatnot. I don't even know if that flash goes long enough. Does that go far enough? Like a legitimate question. Like, what's he flashing for? I guess it goes far enough. So yeah, this is their actual default. Is this 3-1-1? Now they're doing this like. Here, I'll pause. This is something that people probably can like learn from right here now, because this is a pretty generic type of play from terrorist sides in general. Is this 3-1-1? And now off the 3-1-1, when you do this, you take towards long control. And what you'll probably see here is that like Rush might stay back. Maybe he'll go with them, but he's either going to flash them in, or Tarek and them are going to flash themselves in to take control of bathrooms here. And at that point, Mixwell either like starts working up towards stairs to like crunch with them towards Sands. Naf might rotate over to connector, or he'll just stay out here for a longer time. But their whole goal on this isn't really their default, I would say, or it's the default that goes into a strat, I guess, is they're going to try to control towards long fast with the 3. And most of the time, well, I would say before the meta kind of changed to where people don't play tree as much, you usually see a molly right here to stop that. But a lot of the time, people don't play there because you can throw a molly from over here into to the tree. So they've kind of like adjusted the long take, just a little bit more simplistic. But it's going to work most of the time, and you don't have to waste your utility. So it just kind of like shows how deep Optic has really gone into like the meta of the game. Yeah, see in here they're working in right now. They might not wait. Yeah, Mixwell slowly going up here. They're actually taking really slow bathroom control. Not even gonna go for it. They're going to NB here, but this is like their in-game leader making a call. Is that he's gonna lurk towards like long A. Yeah, I actually don't even know what they're gonna do here. They brought it back to middle. Sand goes into A trying to get information, picking it out. Hopefully he's gonna pick one up, but he gets fragged, and so now the reaction call is coming out right now. And it looks like they're gonna go towards the B, but I don't think this round's gonna work out for them. Like A knows, they know. You can see the rotate happening right now, and then they're already so spread apart that unless short picks up a frag instantly here, this should be a 6-2 scoreline. And I'll tell you why I think this round is lost. Like, it got down to a 2v1 there. I shouldn't say the reason why it is lost, or why it maybe how it could have been closer was how I just said, like, that 3 work towards bathrooms. What happens is they didn't really take bathrooms, which is fine. Like, okay, sure, don't take bathrooms, because it looks like they're going to do bathroom control with the lurk smoke towards long and a smoke down here towards sands. It looks like they're going to have, like, 2 towards here, or 1 towards there, and 2 towards bathrooms. That's something of that nature. But when the T's ran back here and went to middle side, and you had 2 people towards monster, so you have 2 here, 2 there, Stan is lost, slowly working into A, which he died. The reaction is to go to B, but they're so far apart from each other. The better play, probably, is kind of dedicate to this bathroom control, and then come out here towards connector instead. And then control connector so that they can come up and cat faster to help out their teammates. Or at the very least go back long, which isn't, like, the biggest problem is them just not being connector. Like, if they were connector there before they decided to make the snap call to go to B, that could have been a much closer round. Because at this level, a lot of the time the game comes down to trading. Landing your shots and trading. And in situations where your time is ticking down and you don't... I just think Optic kind of overthought that one. Like, they've shown that their simplistic strats of, like, rushing out 5 monster, or, like, their 3-1-1 take into SI late after grouping is, like, working for them. Don't have to overthink it. Oh, rushes by, though. Must have been a misclick. And here we're going to go back to that water control, probably. But they're doing it in a different version. Oh, they're going to go up connector, actually. So they really want to take sands here. So Stanislav threw this smoke, which is, like, thrown from the playground area, so they can get quick bathroom control in sand, which they haven't done yet, so it's something else they can toss into the mix, which is strong. And they pick one up because of it, and now they slow it down and go into a 5 versus 4. And again, you see, like, this extra layer that Optic seems to have is, like, they always have this inconsistency of strats, which is strong. Like, I'm saying inconsistent in the sense that you really don't know what they're doing all the time, or ever, to be honest. And now we're in a 3v4 situation because of it. Having the CTs guess and not being able to, like, make pushes into certain areas is, like, the best thing you can do as a terrorist at this level. Because a lot of the time, a lot of matches are won off of how good your CT side is nowadays. Like, most teams can get a good amount of terrorist side, or at least have a pretty close half. But CT side's where it's at. And if you play this, like, static type of mentality where you're not really pushing, or you can't because of how Optic plays, like, you're gonna lose a lot of these matches. And again, like, you see this disciplined type of play again where, like, whatever it is throughout the map, like, at the end of the day they're grouping up towards long A with 3 of them. They're coming out and, like, they're making sure they get those trades. Even if it was a 4v4 situation, they probably win this round. And that's because EnvyUs doesn't have an option to push anywhere. They kind of forced back into their sites. It's I think one of the maps, maybe not now because of the change, but it's so apparent back in Source days and even CSGO days, is if you just sit in your bomb sites and don't do anything, you're always going to lose, even though your CT-sided map is like Inferno. People that don't push down banana, people that don't want to take peeks from arch to mid, people that want to get into apartments, you lose a lot of rounds CT side if you just, like, sit inside your sites, sit towards pit, sit in like in B itself, but because the terrorists have pushed you so far back. And this is kind of what Optic is doing right now to EnvyUs. I wouldn't be surprised if on this buy we see, like, some type of aggression from EnvyUs. Which, again, these are the adjustments that probably should have happened earlier if they want their half to be a little bit better. But we'll look at the map right now and see. But it's hard. It's hard to guess where to go. Optic is playing it so well. See, look, here's the aggression, like I just said. They're going to, like, opt to try to control connector and get Mixwell here. So it's a 3-2. But again, like, Optic has a different setup here. Like, Rush is pretty consistent about holding long here, but and then Stanislav coming up towards the middle. So it's like a 1-1-1-2 almost. And they lose Naf here, which I'm actually surprised they lost him because he's been so passive as of recent on that spot. But what a sick shot by Stanislaw there. Oh, how did this happen? How the hell? So I'm gonna watch this round play out because I am so surprised that EnvyUs just gave up A. They had like they thought they had a hard read that it was going to be, and it didn't. It had no one there. And Rush gonna pick this frag up, maybe in the second one. No. Yeah, Rush knows that that frag was huge. If Rush gets that frag, they win.
Huh? Oh, yeah.
My god.
But I think they still might win this. Like a tap. Yeah. That's incredible. EnvyUs did everything so right there. That's the biggest problem, is like they did something so good there, and then they decided to give up A. I don't know if it's miscommunication. I think Optic was kind of gift wrapped at that round. I don't even know what to say about that one. EnvyUs did exactly what I said they should have done. Like, get more aggressive, change something up, take a chance. If they're like, we run into one of Optic's, like a 5-out monster, or like 5-up connector, or something of that nature, to have a strat, we kind of have to like let it happen because we're just losing rounds. But even when they go up 3 vs 5, they kind of lost that one there because they just gave them the ace site. What a wild round. And again, I bet you anything you're going to see again, like aggression from CTs. So this is going to be like a 2-3. Kenny has, oh wait, he just wanted to buy an extra grenade or something. So they've elected to go into like this 3-2 setup with basically B playing off each other with the other 3 players playing aggressive A. And now we're back to Optic's default. With a little bit different though. They have 2 torch connector this time. So the most consistent thing about this though is they always have a rush towards long. You have 1 towards middle and Naf towards long B. The other 2 can just kind of fluctuate for wherever they want to go to always change up the strat. And as long as they use utility here on the stairs, a lot of the time T's will win this, and it looks like they're going to win the trades. I guess they don't. They got a lot of help from that. They got help from water. So I would like to see like Optic use a little bit more utility there. That's something that you should always be doing at the stairs if you think they're playing aggressive. Like the round before that, they kind of Optic saw that they were playing more aggressive to win their rounds. So they should have used mollies to like clear stuff out before they started peeking. But what I will say, I wonder if Naf wins this. I know this scoreline's crazy. It's like a 13-2 or no, it's like a 12-3 scoreline at the end of the half, but Naf winning this would be impressive. 20 seconds left. He can get it down. But what I was going to say, actually we'll watch this clutch first. Wow, Naf does win this. Again, situations, EnvyUs just likes to take 1v1s by themselves on the post, or not even on the post plant in clutch situations. Like, why is he challenging? Like, he hears him about the plant. Let him have it. Give yourself a trade option. But what Optic does do a good job, even though that was close and it was off the back of just Naf like winning that clutch, is that they had the 2 players, maybe it was 1 player, working towards sands to connector, with the other 2 players here working towards the stairs, and they pinched at the right time. Even though they didn't get the trades correctly, or the trades in their favor, they still attempted a good pinch that is something that's overlooked a lot of the time, but like so strong. If you have 2 people coming at the same time for a trade option like that at the right time, those are what make great teams. So, and it gives Naf that opportunity to make that clutch, even though I think EnvyUs again threw that one away. And here you have it again, the 1-1-1 with people fluctuating between connector, long B, and middle. And you know, and again, EnvyUs is back to this 3-2, but or like a 2-3, but they're just kind of playing passive. They're giving Optic the map control that they want. They're not really pressuring anything. They saw so much success with their aggression on one of their rounds. I'm surprised that they decided to go back to the passive default. And this is kind of like the T-side that every single team should be striving for, is pushing CTs back into their sites, too afraid to make plays. And I think Optic is doing just that. And Mixwell's also just insane. Like, how's he about to enter two people there without him getting traded? And that's round. And the only reason, it's like playing 5 vs 5 Counter-Strike as a CT is never good, because they're always going to be executing on the site in like a 3-2 scenario or 2-2 with one lurk somewhere, collapsing 4 players against your 2 or 3. So it's like, it's almost always CT's job to really like at least show some type of aggression, and something that EnvyUs hasn't been doing, that Optic is like, they're preparing for it, because a lot of North American teams, and I think a lot of other European teams other than EnvyUs, what they do is like they'll take this fight at long, they'll take this fight at middle, or they'll take this fight at connector at the beginning of the round. I'm not saying they go like balls deep for the frag, but they'll show a presence at the very least. Like you'll have teams like flash over here and get a peek. You'll have other players like molly or smoke deep into connector, or you'll have people that like triple push long, like 3 push down here, and then like try to peek into playground and get a frag and then back up to bathroom control. But EnvyUs doesn't want to do that. They did it one round and they won. So I don't know why they're so against it. And again, EnvyUs' economy is terrible, and that's just because of good Optic gaming play. Like every single time Optic has been winning their rounds, other than like the close clutch situations, they win it flat out. So their economy is probably crazy good right now. Oh, it isn't. It's not as good as I thought it would be. But like I don't think they're in any danger of having to save throughout the rest of the half. And this is good placement by Mixwell. Like no one really expects you to be on top of the door. He's such a good positional player, and he's just so nasty. I really didn't even see what they did that round. There's nothing to really go over. It was just kind of like a default slow work into a site later on. And even at this point, there's other players around the map. Like Optic is really feeling it at this point. They're kind of just like running around, playing their own game. They know EnvyUs is like down and out. 11-2 Overpass. There's no way Optic ever drops this map. Here's another one of those Optics. Again, alright, here we go. We're about to see some conflict. And what happens the second they actually do something that all pro teams...
I don't even know, fuck. What? Like 2 or 3 of us just called tree.
Oh, I know that Optic Gaming has some very vocalized and opinionated players. So it's always interesting to see what they have to say to one another. But again, what happened there, what they should have been doing for this entire half, is having the 3 towards long, and they kind of controlled for a long fight. Like Optic decided to do their 4 towards long and like 1 wait wherever Stan's law was. I don't know where it was at, but they kind of ran right into the stack at long. But that's also said you can do even if Optic wasn't running that that fast strat towards long A. And even losing a round here, Optic Gaming is still obviously in complete control. I'm curious to see what the CTs do here, actually, more than what Optic is doing. Optic looks like going into their default. Ooh, nah, you're nasty. So again, I mean, they changed it up with a boost there, I guess, but this passive setup at the A site by EnvyUs does no good for them. Like, I know Rush has been winning Playground a lot of the time for those pushes, but Rush hasn't even challenged a single time at Playground. Oh, nasty. Alright, and that's going to be the half. I'm not going to go into CT because it's just stomp. The entire map's stomp, but something that you can take away from this is that you can see how throwing in your strategies along with defaults is always going to be like a strong play, or a strong half in general, as long as you're landing your shots. But having CTs pressured to not make any moves, however you can do it, is always key to like a really dominant T half. I think there was a couple clutch situations where like could have sent this half into a different scenario, into like maybe a 9-6 or maybe like a 10-5 scoreline. But at the end of the day, Optic does a really good job of knowing when to have their aggressive strats come out, when to slow it down, and when to really challenge the CTs in spots that they think they're going to be aggressive and wait on pushes that they think they're going to be aggressive. So I hope that helps some of you guys, or any team kind of like trying to work on a overpass T side. Thanks for watching.